So truthfully, this one was a little bit of a hard one for me to review. I really wanted to like it a lot, and unfortunately, it just kind of came in a lot lower than I was anticipating it being for me personally. Hello friends, welcome back to the channel today. My name is Carly, and today we are going to be reviewing the 2 to 6 player game Garden Guests from Ryder Games. The beetles have officially entered the garden. These beetles will be spreading out across your garden, building colonies, making stone pathways, in the hopes of trying to connect both of their sides of the board. So before I share my thoughts on this game, I'm going to be giving you a really general overview of how this game plays, and then we'll jump back here and I will share my thoughts on Garden Guests.
Alright, so welcome to a game of Garden Guests. We currently have this set up for 3 players, so we'll have player 1, player 2, and then player 3 right there. In a game of Garden Guests, you are trying to fully connect your 2 sides of the board. So I'll shift the camera up here a tad bit so you can see a little bit better, but we have the white player sides right here, the black players sides right here, and then the gold player sides right here. Those are your home sides or your home tiles. And so in order to win, you need to fully have a connected pathway from one side to the other. So let's quickly kind of talk about what a turn looks like. So when it is your turn, there are basically 3 things that you can choose to do. You can choose to collect flowers, which are these cards here. You can choose to build a colony, or you can choose to lay a pathway in between 2 colonies that you have already established on the board. So let's kind of quickly talk about each of those actions. So the first action you can do is collecting flowers. Again, like I kind of showed you, these are these little flower cards that you will be collecting throughout the game. And why these are important is because in order to lay pathways, you need to have the appropriate flowers that are necessary in order to lay that pathway. So for example, if I was trying to connect a pathway here, I would need 2 purple flowers. And currently, I guess I do have 2 purple flowers in my hand. Then I could spend those in order to connect a pathway. But when you are taking flowers, every team has some numbers in front of them, these little numbered cards in front of them. So when you are choosing this action of collecting flowers, you have to actually pick one of these numbers, and then that is the number of cards that you get to draw. So for example, I don't have a lot of cards in my hand right now, so I'm going to choose to draw 4 flowers. So I choose the number 4, I grab 4 cards here, add them to my hand, and this card actually flips over. And so now at a future round, my options are, if I want to do this action again of collecting flowers, now I have the option of collecting 1 flower or 2 flowers. So these numbers are always fluctuating, but yeah, so that is how you collect flowers. So the next action that you can choose to do is building a colony. Now if you take a look at the board here, most of what you see is just a bunch of flowers kind of in the meadow, but there are a handful of white little hexagon spots that are kind of scattered throughout. So those are pedestals. Those are pedestals that are kind of in your garden. And you will actually be building colonies onto those pedestals. For example, if I wanted to build a colony on this pink flower pedestal right here, I play any number of matching flowers that I want to. So let's pretend I had 2 of those matching flower cards. I could go ahead and play those cards, building a colony there with a power of 2 because I only played 2. Of those pink flowers. Now the interesting thing about colonies is as long as they are not connected to another colony by a pathway, they are actually still up for grabs. So for example, if the gold player over here wanted to steal this colony from me, all they would have to do is play 1 more flower card than I had played in order to claim this. So again, this little marker on the top kind of helps remind people what flower is needed. So if this gold player played 3 of this little pink flower card here, they would actually knock me off, and they would instead claim this spot, adding their third adding 3 of their beetles here, indicating that they now own that. They would place the flower on top. Now, technically, that is still up for grabs. This player over here, this player could come in and again just play one more. They could play 4 of those pink flower cards in order to then knock them off, and then they would reclaim that. So as long as a colony is not connected to another colony by the path, it is always up for grabs. The last action that you can choose to take is actually building a path. So if you have 2 colonies, so pretend I had built a colony right here. Let's say I built a colony right here. My final action that I could choose to do is actually connecting those 2 colonies. So again, I look at the flowers that are in my hand and I have to play the necessary flowers that are needed. So for example, if I were to connect the pathway right here, I would need 1 purple and 1 of like these kind of like pink yellowish cards right here. So I'll go ahead and play those cards from my hand, and now I can go ahead and claim this pathway. Every single time you lay a pathway, it actually makes it so the colonies that you previously built are now set in stone. Nobody can take those colonies from you. So every time you do that, it kind of locks in those colonies in place, ensuring that you are safe. So I told you at the beginning of this video that I have this game set up for 3 players, and I do, but this game actually plays from 2 players all the way up to 6. And how we go about doing that is you actually still play as 3 players, but you just would play with teams if you play more than 3 players. So for example, if you play with 6 players, you would play on 3 teams of 2. If you play with 4 players, it would be 2 teams of 2. And then if you played with 5 players, you would actually 1 player would play by themselves, while 2 of the teams would play with 2 players. Something else to note is when you are playing with teams, you have to be silent while you are playing this game. That's something that's very important when you are playing this game on teams, so something definitely to point out and remember. When you are playing with teammates, you can actually choose another action, which is passing flowers to your teammate, which can become very helpful during rounds. We use that very often in our games, and it helped us quite a bit. So it's a little bit difficult to see on this overhead camera here, but like I mentioned before, the game does end once a player has successfully connected both of their home tiles, both of their home sides in one single pathway. So the moment that this player plays a pink card and is able to connect these 2 right here, this player has successfully won the game because they have a complete chain connecting both of their sides. So that is what triggers the end of the game.
So when I first received this game from Ryder Games, I was really, really anxious and really, really looking forward to playing it. The board, everything really looked really visually appealing, and the idea of trying to collect the flowers and play out your beetles in certain ways, trying to connect paths, it just seemed really interesting to me. So I was really looking forward to playing it. So obviously since then I've been able to play this game a lot. I actually played this game probably more than most games I play before my review. And let's go ahead and chat about all the stuff that I really enjoyed about this game. So something that I really liked is how simple it was to teach. Literally, the rulebook is just a handful of pages. It was really easy and clear to go through and read and understand the rulebook. I feel like the rulebook really explained everything really well. And as far as teaching the game, it's really easy to teach too, because if you're just playing if you're not playing on teams, so if you're playing either a 2 or 3 player game, then there's only really 3 things that you can do. You can draw flowers, build colonies, or create pathways. That's really it. And so it literally takes 2 seconds to teach. It's really, really clean and simple. There's not a bunch of rules that you have to go through, a bunch of stuff that you have to keep reminding people. It is very straightforward, very streamlined, very easy to understand. Another thing that I really loved about this game is when you choose the action of drawing flowers or getting more flower cards into your hand. I absolutely I really loved this little puzzle here. So you have 2 cards that are set in front of you throughout in the game. And so when you do decide to draw cards, you have to pick one of the numbers flip it over, and then next time you go to draw flower cards, and you'll have the new number is revealed, so that's the new number that you can pick from. I really loved that puzzle, and I really especially loved the puzzle when you're working with teams. And the reason why is because, like, for example, I was working with a teammate, and he had a bunch of cards in his hand, a bunch of cards, and I believe the cards that were in front of him were I think these two, and so he purposefully chose an action. He purposely chose the one, and he collected one card because he knew that by the time it got to me, because I hardly had any cards in my hand, so he purposely picked the one, so by the time it was my turn to play, I could have the option to choose a 4, and so it was, I don't know, it was just really interesting, that puzzle of trying to kind of manage these cards here along with the cards in your hands, and trying to be as efficient as possible. Like I said, working with a teammate especially just kind of made it a really fun, interesting puzzle. I also really like how when you build a colony out here on the board, I like how it's still technically up for grabs until you connect it with a pathway. So it was really fun because there were a couple times in the game where people had claimed throughout all the games that I've played, there definitely comes times where people claim very clear potential winning colonies, and okay, if they claim that, if they get that, it's game over, they're gonna win. So it's really fun to try your best to get the cards you need to knock your opponents off. It's very cutthroat in regards to fighting over the colonies, but it was a really fun puzzle because the moment somebody claims a colony, you as the opposing players, you're able to kind of guess what pathway they're going to take to connect that, and how can you disrupt that, or how can you get there before them or knock them off. So it adds to a kind of interesting puzzle, because the moment you claim a territory, it kind of gives away your plan. So you've got to be strategic about when you claim colonies and how quickly you then claim that colony by connecting a path to it. As far as these little stones go, they all feel really, really nice. They're like nice little acrylic stones that for me personally, they were really tactile, and they feel really, really nice and smooth. Lots about the production did feel really nice as well. Like, these cards felt really nice and sturdy. Really, really nice cards. I was actually really impressed with the cards, the card quality in this game. All of like I kind of mentioned, all these little acrylic pieces felt really nice. Even this board feels really nice and thick and sturdy. And the insert as well. The insert works really good. So everything about the production, I feel like, or lots about the production, I felt like it was really well produced, and I feel like it's really sturdy and nice. So I know the theming of this game is like Beetles going through the garden and everything. I didn't really get the theme super strong in this game. It's basically just an abstract strategy game, personally, in my opinion. You're basically just, trying to find the quickest route, the most efficient route based on the flowers that you get. It felt very much like a race, because inevitably that the moment somebody connects, obviously the winning condition is by connecting one side, fully connecting both of your sides together. And so very quickly, if you're not being efficient and you're not being careful, you can become cut off, and then you're basically out at that point. And so it was just kind of an interesting puzzle to try to manage your flowers as efficiently as you could without wasting them too early in the game. So I've kind of briefly mentioned in this video how I really was expecting and hoping to like this game more than I actually did. So we're going to kind of go in and kind of chat a little bit about some of the things that I was a little bit disappointed for, truthfully, in regards to this game. And I think the biggest thing for me in this game is every single game of this that I've played, it gets to a point where it feels pointless to finish it. And the reason why is because when you are connecting two of your sides, there are crucial moments that happen in this game where, let's pretend this white was right here and this black had almost got it. Well, the moment that the black gets that key part and cuts white off completely, there's no point to finish the game at that point, because you know that black is going to win. It's just a matter of time. There's no way. There are times where you're playing this game and you just cut off people or completely stop somebody in their tracks, and there's no way to come back from it. There's literally no way. Literally every single game of this I've played, it hasn't ended in like oh yay, like we finally got it. We literally, you could just stop playing at that point. You don't even need to finish the game. And for me, that's huge. Like why play a game if it comes to a point where there's no point to finish. Like there's just no point. Like me and my husband and my daughter, we sat down and we played this, and granted, we might have been playing a little bit too rough with her, but we cut her off. Very quickly in the game, we cut her off. And I mean, she was just out. She was just out at that point. So then it was down to me and my husband. And so we kept going on and playing. But there was a really crucial part that I managed, a really crucial section of the board that I managed to claim a colony. And I managed to get all the right flower cards. So I completely cut him off. And at that point, we were just like, okay, let's just stop the game, because there was literally no point to continue, because no matter what happened, I was going to win. And so that was super unsatisfying for me, truthfully, because I want that ground finish. I want to be able to want to finish a game. And so that was probably my biggest thing with this game, and the biggest thing that pulled it down for me. And the biggest thing that kind of keeps me from wanting to pull it off the shelf, because what's the point of playing a game if, there's no really nice, big, fun, satisfying ending. Another thing is, as visually pretty as this board is, the very first time I opened this board, I was like, oh, this is really pretty. This is going to look so nice. But it's actually quite frustrating, truthfully, the way that this game is laid out, because the flowers, while it looks really pretty, a lot of these flowers on these hexagon shapes actually kind of overlap. And so at first glance, it looks beautiful, but while you're sitting and playing and you're trying to count out how many flowers and what flowers you need in order to connect two colonies, it actually makes it quite difficult, because it's not always quite clear what flowers are on what. Like, for example, here, like this little hexagon here, you have red flowers and then these like cream colored flowers, and both of them are on the hexagon at the same time. Clearly, like when you look at it and really look at it, it's clear that this yellow flower is on more of that hexagon than the red one. But the fact that they overlap at all, it makes it confusing. And it makes it less clear. It just requires more brain effort to sit and count. Like I would find myself one at a time laying a flower down, placing a stone, lay another flower down, place a stone, because I had to do that in order to keep track of what flowers I had played and what flowers I need, because it's just not always clear based on the iconography, or based on the way that they drew out this board. Another thing are the colors are slightly off in this game sometimes. So like, for example, the colors on the cards for some of these flowers, especially like these ones, these are the ones I struggle with the most. And the reason why is because I feel like on the board and these ones match pretty well. The color is slightly off, but they match okay. But when you claim a colony and you put the matching flower on top, this is the token that you use for this flower, and it doesn't look anything like the flower that's actually on the colony. The one on the colony is pink, and this is like yellow. When we played this game with a hand, we played a 4-player game of this one night, and one of the gentlemen that we were playing with kept getting these colors mixed up because they are confusing. It's confusing because the colors, they just don't really match super well, and because the backgrounds are different, I don't know. I just had issues with the coloring. But by far, this little piece here, this drove me crazy. You definitely have to play this game very, very, very aggressively. You have to be cutting people off. You have to be knocking people over. You have to be very strategic to the point where you're trying your best just to cut everybody off you possibly can. When you are playing a 3-player game of this, because you have to play that way, every 3-player game that I personally have played, 1 player gets eliminated relatively quickly. When you're playing a 2-player game, it's not quite as bad because more of the board is open, so I feel like both players are able to go relatively long, again, until you hit that crucial moment, and then whoever wins basically is kind of set to win the game at that point. But in a 3-player game, somebody gets eliminated relatively quick, and it does not feel good when that's you, because again, it happens, at least in my experience, it happened so many times so early in the game, like the other player literally should just get up and leave and either start another game or go do something else at that point, because it's not like it's at the very end of the game, it's a crucial moment, oh, I win, okay, let's just wait to see who wins. Usually it happens pretty early, and if you're that third player that happens to, you're out and you're just out of luck, and there's just no point for you to even continue finishing at that point. A game that I kept thinking about the whole time I was playing this game is Blockus. And I know it's nothing like Blockus, but in Blockus, when you are going and trying your best to place, if somebody cuts you off, there's usually ways that you can still get around them. Either, cutting through a corner or doing something. You're not, other than like maybe at the very end of Blockus, you can still kind of mitigate, you can still try your best to cut through people. There's none of that in this game. So when you do get cut off, there's no way for you to really continue, to really have any chance to win. You're just done at that point. So I wish there was something similar to Blockus. Again, I don't quite know how you would go about doing that without breaking this game. Because if you did have like one rainbow stone or something that you could use that allows you to hop over somebody else, I do think that would break the game. But I also at the same time feel like this game is missing something like that, and I don't quite know how to how to explain it. Now, I did want to briefly mention this. The game group that we play this with Kim's kind of game group that she does every Tuesday. So one of the people that we played with, his name is Will. Shout out to you, Will. Will actually really, really, really enjoyed this game. And so I kind of we were actually really hoping that we would be able to get him to be on this review today. I really wanted him to kind of speak his thoughts on it, but unfortunately with me right about to have this baby and timelines, it just didn't work out. But I want to speak on behalf of Will because I think he brought up some really good points. So Will really, really, really liked this game. He actually I asked him like what he would rate it, and I believe he rated it an 8 or an 8.5. He really, really liked it, and the reason why he liked it, and he's a really big chess player, so he really loves that puzzle. But something that he mentioned in regards to this game is he says he feels like there's like a depth to this game in regards to how you build your colonies and how you place, because you can be really strategic, making people think you're going to go one way, but then you cut in and you go around, and you just have to be really strategic about the way that you place stuff. So Will really, really enjoyed this game. He really liked the puzzle. He liked the when you play with 4 or 5 or 6 players, you play on teams, and so when you do that, you're like, there's no communication, and so the way you have to communicate with people, like I was playing with Will, I was playing on his team, and I could see that he had a lot of cards, and we had a really crucial area that we needed to take, and so I chose to hand him my cards, tried to indicate to him, hey, we need to take this crucial pathway, and because I did that, he was able to play the cards he needed to in order to win, and so he really enjoyed that, the cooperative level when you played this with more players, and how you're trying to communicate with the other players while trying to take those key spots. So Will really actually enjoyed the puzzle. So again, I wish that he was here with me today, sharing his thoughts, but I did want to share that on behalf of him, and kind of all the reasons why he actually enjoyed this game. For me personally, though, I am coming in pretty low on this game, truthfully. And the reason why, the thing that just keeps bringing it down for me is just that it's just that point where every single game I've played of this, there's just no point to finish. There's literally no point to finish. Once somebody takes that crucial part, the game is over at that point. So why finish? And for me to play a game that you don't feel like you don't need to finish, that just is so unsatisfying for me. So for me personally, I'm going to be giving this game a 5.5. There are stuff that I do like about it, and I do really want to like it more. And Will might be totally right. There might be a level of strategy that I just simply haven't unlocked yet with this game, or I haven't simply realized with this game. But for me, it just wasn't satisfying enough, and I feel like there's some stuff still kind of missing for me to personally enjoy it to the level that I want to. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on Garden Guests from Ryder Games. Huge shout out to Ryder Games for sending us this copy to review today. And if you have played this game or you're interested in playing this game, please let me know what your thoughts are, or why you personally want to play in all of the comments below. And if you did enjoy this video and you haven't yet subscribed, it would mean so much if you could. It really helps support me and kind of everything that we are doing over here on the channel. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Definitely having a contraction. Ugh, I'm so ready to be done being pregnant. Yep, I'm just gonna lay down for a minute.